Am I into the microphone enough, Stephen? Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I am speaking today on managing your whole home while you're homeschooling. So I just told someone that I made sure that my house was kind of tidy before I left this morning to make sure it was like I wasn't coming in the place of a lie. So Jason's been sending me pictures. He's cooking with the kids right now using a bunch of Tessa's produce. So he will get it all cleaned up because he's much more of a stickler of getting things ready than I am. So I am married to Jason, and he is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. I've been married, so is Stephen. I've been married for 23 years, which is a wonderfully wonderful amount of time. Our oldest son is Silas. He is 20. He is a junior in college, and he also would like to be a financial advisor, most likely with Edward Jones once he grows up, also once he's older. He is currently working at Chart, so I wrote down, he explained it to me that he does something with, it's like giant Legos that he is stacking, but there are like 6 people involved in it, so it's not really like giant Legos, but he read this on my when I showed him what I was writing about him. And he's like, that's all? I do giant Legos, that's all? So he said, I think I could write your talk, and everyone would love me. Like, if I'm up there for 3 minutes, and he gave me a little spiel, and I'm like, yes, that is very funny, and yes, you would be much, much better than me. So he thinks you would love him if he were up here, and I'm pretty sure that you would, because he is pretty great. My next son is Calvin. He is 18. He works construction. He has a company that he works for that is the company that built our deck. I think they built it 4 years ago. I really need to find out exactly when. But when they came over, I went outside and said, my son really likes, he always wants tools. He is building with things. He is already crazy about the brand Milwaukee. He wants to have different things. Could he watch you? Could he carry some of your supplies for you? Could he be out here? So they came to our house at 6 o'clock in the morning. Calvin was up by 5:30 to make sure he was there. The second that they were there, he went outside. And the company said, no, he cannot watch us. He will be helping. We're going to give him a drill, and I want him to be able to be involved. And that's who's hired him now. And he works for them. It is wonderful that I love that they cared about a younger boy and said, we see you enjoy this and see that you can grow in it. So that's what he does. And he is very, very handy to have around the house also. So if you can somehow, Jason and I are not so much knowing how to do things like this. If you can have one of those, it's really, really great. So we got a new dishwasher. And my daughter she was trying to figure out how to put it in, and she's like, I don't even know how to fit the screwdriver in, because it was underneath, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know how to fit the screwdriver in, how? And Calvin, seriously, 20 seconds. He just puts it in. So if your mind works like that, it is wonderful. I don't know how it does for him, but it does, and he has found his niche of what he is good at. My oldest daughter is named Willow. She's 16, and she loves stationery. She has pens and paper, and she likes to make different kinds of artwork and puts things down on paper. And she pointed out to me as she was reading through these that I talked about jobs of the children above her and the child below her, but not her. She also has a job, just so that you are aware that Willow also has a job and works at festival. All of my kids have started at festival, so if you live close to one, it's really a great place for kids to work. Mine just walk down, but they treat children very well and help train them nicely. So Willow has a customer service voice whenever she talks. So it's funny when you're in there and you can talk to her this is not your normal voice that you speak to me at home. It's she's got it ready now. She is very nurturing, and she thinks since she was 4 was when she started having a younger sibling sleep with her. So once they graduated from sleeping with me, they move on to Willow. And so when she's gone away for a night at a time, she comes back and she's like, I miss them. I miss being able to cuddle with them. I'm like, yes, you're going to be a wonderful mom because you're a wonderful big sister. Felicity is 15. She works at festival, so that's her job too. All my kids have started in the deli there and really like it. And people now will know them because they see them or they know that they're our kids, but they don't know the people that come in. So if you're at the Village Festival and you see Willow or Felicity on their name tag, just introduce yourself, because they actually don't really like it. They're like, who was that person after they left? And if I'm not there, I can't tell them who was that person. But she is now learning to drive. So when you are thinking of steps ahead, this is my first child that I've taught to drive. Jason taught the older 3. It did not go so great the very first time he was trying with Felicity, so I took over. And she is doing amazing. And the very first time she tried to drive, she was driving with both her feet. She did not tell me this until afterwards, so that is why we we're real close to running into a tree because she pushed on the gas because she had both her feet on. So I'm like, never again put both of your feet on. But she thought she would be able to switch them back and forth. So, things you might not know, you have to teach someone. 1 foot for driving. That can be your first lesson when you teach your kids to drive. My next daughter is Everly's. She is 13. She really enjoys painting currently. So we went to Moon Tunes last week, and there was a lady painting outside, and she asked if she could go sit by her, and she sat there the entire time. And this lady was 67. She gave Everly's all sorts of tips and told her what she's been doing. So it was very lovely that she could see someone doing the thing that she loves. So last weekend we made her an apron to keep her cleaner. She has the other girls wanted aprons that were had pockets and extra things. Everly's wanted one because she thought it looked artistic. So she got the kind that was artistic to have for her. My next child is Thaddeus. He is 10. He likes to think about how things work. So I'm not sure if he's going to be close to Calvin, as Hope was saying. It wasn't Hope. Talk was just wonderful. Hope is just great. But I don't know yet what he's going to want to do with his life, but it's really, really fun. I enjoy it very much to get to see you seem to have a bent toward this, and then try and help them as they're going along to figure out what that is. So I'm not sure what Thaddeus is yet, but he will tell me how things are working and what he is trying to plan to help make them work better. So he's come up with some really clever ideas that may or may not work, but right now he's working on adding to our chicken and our duck run, and is stuck because there's a tree in the middle of it, so he needs his older brother to help cut that part down, or teach him how to wrap it around to be able to fit it around the tree. My next child is Otis, who is 8, and he is crazy about soccer, and he likes the team Manchester City that plays for England. If Harlan scores, Otis also scores, and he is just jumping and crazy, and it is very sweet. He got up at 6 this morning so we could watch soccer with my husband. That's his level of dedication we went to Mount Olympus yesterday, we were all very tired. No, I'm getting up and I want to watch soccer with Daddy, so he is doing that. My next child is Lumina. She is 6. She is learning how to read right now, and it is very sweet that I have gotten a lot calmer over teaching people to read than I used to be at the beginning. So with Silas, I was crying, he was crying. I thought, you are never going to get this. This will never happen. And I look back, and he was my easiest. He learned to read faster than anyone. He was reading chapter books so quickly. And now Lumina's 6, and I'm you are doing amazing, and I'm so proud of you, and I understand. So here's one of my biggest tips. Kids will get to a certain point of reading, my kids at least. They get to a certain point, and you're like, did you forget every single letter sound? Because it sounds like, I thought you knew this. We've gone through it so much, and now you're just guessing some random letter. If you go back 10 or 15 lessons and start again, then they catch back up. So just I used to panic. We did this, you have to know this. So my older kids will tell stories of, I will tell them, you know this, and then they will be like, but I don't know this. And so then they ask a sibling, and then they can help them. So don't tell them that they do know something if they don't actually know it whenever they're saying. It gets easier also, that's what I'm also trying to say. So by the time Lumina's learning to drive, I'm sure I will have all the tips of all the things to tell them to make sure that they use 1 foot at a time. She is trying very hard to sleep in her own bed at night and is not doing a very good job. So that's our skill that we're working on with her at the moment. Felicity has tried to come up with charts and all of these things of you sleep in your bed for this night, I'll get you this toy at the store, and she can get that toy and then the next day go right back to jumping into bed with Felicity again. So Revere is 4, and he likes to sleep in bed with me at nap time, and he will wake up from his nap and lean over and say, I'm your boy, and then fall back asleep. And he is very, very sweet. If Maranatha is beside me on the other side, I love baby cakes so much, so he calls her baby cakes, if you can't guess from that sentence. But then he woke up a couple days ago, so he'd already told me he was my boy. He falls back asleep, he wakes up again, he goes, I love dinosaurs, and then he falls back asleep. So, the things he's dreaming about, apparently, being my boy, loving baby cakes and dinosaurs. My youngest is Maranatha. She is 1. She is everyone's favorite. Everything she does, everyone is excited about. So they're as excited as you get to be with 1 or 2 kids at the beginning of your starting out. All of them are now excited, and I told Maranatha to shut the door. And Everly's comes running over and she's like, she shut the door. You said shut the door, and she shut the door. I'm like, well, that's the goal. That's what I want to have happen, but it's also very sweet that she's so excited to be able to show me she did what you said because she understands now. She also, so another thing with reading, the baby likes to repeat the sounds because that's all she knows how to do right now is sound. So if Lumina's like, then Maranatha comes over, and so then the other kid's like, she knows how to read, and so then that's she's super smart, at that. And I currently have 2 extra children at my house right now, that are 6 and 3, that we do a program called Safe Families. Julian and Donovan have been with us for a week, are set to go back to be able to stay somewhere with their mom tomorrow. But it's been sweet having them. Julian really likes to play soccer with Otis, so he's kind of worn out all the rest of the kids that they'll like play soccer for a stretch of time, but not like every minute of the day like Otis would like. So he's got a new kid ready to play soccer all the time, so he's been very happy. And Donovan is very, very sweet. Jason said he accidentally said to him yesterday while he was holding him, "Oh look, mommy's coming," and he looked and he saw it was me, and he like his face fell. I'm like, oh bless his heart. Yes, he needs his actual mommy, but we'll get them back to their home soon. So 10 kids, 12 at the moment, but that will change tomorrow again. As homeschoolers, we are home. We fully use our homes. We are there a lot more than most people are, so when other people's houses can be clean when they leave and they come home to a clean house, that is not at all the state of how our houses work out, because people are there making it a mess. And children don't they are very, very wonderful. They are also very hard on things. So if there's something that they can break, something that they can tear down, they're really good at it, and they can start trying to test the limits and see how things will last. So you've got kids home and things will last for a shorter stretch of time than they normally do. The dishwashers, when they tell you they last some certain amount of time, we're like, okay, we need to cut it at least in half because of our family size, and then probably less than that because we are home and using them for lunch and for breakfast and for all the meals that other people are gone for. So it is quite hard to know how you can manage all the things that you need to do in your house and still homeschool your kids at the same time. That there's cooking, there's cleaning, there's laundry, there's organizing, there are things that never seem to stay in the same spot that they are supposed to, that they need to be. And then we also, on top of that, get to educate our children. So there are things that we are doing all day long that are always getting to be done. And it's my favorite. I love that this is our job, that this is what we get to do. We get to show being home and managing our home and educating our children. We get to show them that all of that is important and that all of that is something that is worthy of doing, and it's worthy of doing well, and it's worthy of them all coming alongside us and doing it together at the same time. Sometimes it's easy when we're home to say, oh yes, I'm home. I can do that appointment here, I can go there, I can go and run and do this. But that doesn't always show your children that your homeschool time is what's important. So I encourage you to try and think of how to keep that time sacred, that you're home and that you're working with your kids, and plan out what you think is a good ratio of time to be doing this and that and being able to be home. Because you obviously have to take your kids down to the dentist, and if it works that you can go in the morning and you can leave other kids doing schoolwork, great. And if it doesn't, then you say, I need to come in a little bit later. I'd like to hear from you guys to see, is there a struggle that you face when you're trying to homeschool? Like, is something that is distracting to you or something that is hard to manage while you are doing your schoolwork during the day? I thought you were raising your hand, Kate, but if you have something you want to answer with. Yes? Sorry.
Managing multiple ages, I have high school, middle school, and
Yes.
grade school, and especially with grade school, they need more attention, so trying
Yes.
to manage all the different ages, but still giving time and attention to everybody.
Because you are one person and getting to do all of those things all at one time. Yep. Yes, that is definitely anytime there's more than one, and even if there's one and you still have the housework to do, it is still, there's always a division happening between yourself and what you can manage.
So I homeschool a kindergartner.
Yes.
And sometimes when we're doing activities, we have like family members that just like to pop by.
Yes.
And then like all of the attention goes to like this fun activity.
Sure.
Someone visiting. How do you manage the pop bys and like things?
Yes, yeah. That's like if it's always the same person, it might be we maybe need to set during these hours, this is when we're not free, but we would love to see you later. Susan, I'm gonna ruin this, I'm gonna knock it all down. That's why I wanted to stand, so Tessa made this really cool candle thing, because I thought if I tried to hold it, my hands are gonna get sweaty and it's gonna drop to the ground. Yes, that might be a one-on-one situation, or if it's someone has come in from out of state and they are here for the day, then that's when you say this, we are homeschoolers and we can be flexible and we will do schoolwork tomorrow because this person is here. And people are always more important than things. your education that you learn from relationships is more important than what you are doing to check off your math box that day. And math can happen at 8 o'clock at night if it needs to. But if it is something that you are thinking, I don't feel I can manage this because it is getting broken up so much, then discussions are the fun thing that gets to happen. Did I see another hand? Any other struggles? Yes.
It's not quite relevant to what you said, but one of my struggles seems to be like my boy is most receptive when it's not time to be doing school. He wants to ask the important learning questions
Yes.
right at bedtime. Or like in the middle of church or something.
Yes, writing it down during the middle of church and then, math at 8 o'clock, that might be the way that your family gets to go. Do they seem to be like night owl kind of kids? Yeah. So, yes, structuring your day to a way that works for you is what I think is, I like to get started early. You might get to start it a little later if you're doing things later in the evening. Issue that I hear quite often is, what do you do with a baby? So there are some lovely babies around, and I have been able to have babies and toddlers around all this time to get to have, and I know that it is a tricky question. It is something that I have asked older moms too, of what are you supposed to do with a baby? What do you do with this toddler that is trying to talk while I'm talking, or Maranatha now currently wants to turn the pages for me, which is sweet, and also like, I'm actually still on that page, so I can't have the page turned while I'm in the middle of doing this, and my main answer to that is, there's really not an answer. The baby is wonderful, and the baby is teaching the children that this baby matters, and the baby is the lesson a lot of the time, that you are teaching them how to be empathetic to someone who needs more from you, who needs their diaper changed right then, and you've got to get to the end of the reading or pause the reading and say, we're going to come back to this in a minute because I need to do this. I need to do this at the moment. And then once you get to my stage and you have more kids that are older, and you can say, could you please change Maranatha over here so I can keep reading, or can you take over the reading so I can do this other thing? But I think that it's really important to know that it's totally normal for a baby to be making noise and to want to tear things apart, and that it could change. Like one day there can be an entire time that she's happy to sit and eat and play and color, or she wants to go outside, and then the next day she only wants me, and so then we adjust and I can read while I'm standing up and bouncing her, or needing to adjust. So it helps with your attention. Silas has taken a lot of tests that he's gone to UWL, and they have this like special room with a chair that goes up and down, and you can have multiple pairs of noise canceling headphones, and they can turn on a white noise machine for you. And Silas is like, I do not know what to do with myself. I don't know how to focus whenever there's nobody talking. So I think that will help when they're grown up and they don't have to work on learning that, as I'm trying to figure out how to. I was used to having things quiet. So now there's not ever really much quiet. And so you get to learn how to do things while there's still noise and things happening with the baby. It can feel a lot of times like there's more that needs to happen in a day than there's time for there to be able to do. I like to be able to plan out what I want my day to look like, or what I want my life to look like, basically, because I am not really in the past, I have not been a planner. I more am, oh sure, that sounds good, let's do that. Jason suggested that I start planning out what we did with homeschool back when like Silas and Calvin were the only two in school. And our compromise for a while was I would write it down after. So I would do what I wanted to do, and then I wrote it down afterwards, because that was my getting into planning. I then learned, once I had more children that needed me, that was too hard for me to have to come up with at the moment of, okay, you're done with math, so let's see, let's grab that book, you should work on this next. Then that was too many choices that I needed to make. So I made this years and years ago, and I have examples from several of my children here that I can put up here for you to look at if you'd like to later. But I have these checklists. So it's my one and only, no, did I do a spreadsheet for you, Skylar? This might be like my one of two spreadsheets I've made in my entire life. Lumina's right here does not have the box around the outside because I don't know how to do that, and I need to probably just ask. My husband is kind of good at making spreadsheets, so I should maybe just check, how do I put that box back around it, because it's blank. I just draw it on each time, that's what I've been doing for the last couple of terms. But anyway, it has the weekly list of what I want the kids to do, so they can then look at this and say, okay, these are the things for the week that I need to do. I will I will go through this and I will check it off, so I don't have to be managing it day to day. So I plan this out for 3 months at a time, what I want them to be doing each week, and then they have it set and can do it. So I'm sure there are templates that are online, there are probably very easy ways to do this. This has worked really, really well for me, that I can plug it in, I can see if you've already been doing this, but you're not done with this book, we'll continue it for the next term. If you are done, I need to find something else to fit into that slot. But having a set amount, and it will often tell them, like this for Everly, Story of Mankind, she's supposed to read 2 chapters, so I put that in the beginning, so I say it's chapters 3 and 4 the first week, 5 and 6 the next week, so that she knows what she has to do without needing to come and ask me a bunch of questions, because I only have so many ears to hear the questions and know what they need to be doing during the day, so that I can still be doing what I need to be doing also. He reminded me that I used to not want to put things on a calendar, that we just do Google Calendar and we can put things on, so then I can look ahead for the week and see, okay, I have 2 things out of the house this week, I shouldn't be planning anymore, make sure that if I'm trying to do something, I schedule it for the next week, because I'm already full this week for what my capacity is, for what I can handle doing. So my capacity is different than what your capacity is probably, but this helps me to be able to look at a longer glance, and for Jason to be able to put stuff in, and then I can see, okay, he's going here, or he's doing this, or we're all doing this, so I need to know, put that into my mental knowledge of what we are going to do. So that helps me to know how to plan out, so I can plan out our schoolwork and know what we need to be doing to be able to look ahead on a calendar. A year ago or so, we had a young couple over, and they told some friends that they were coming over to our house, and those friends said, okay, we went over there like 7 years ago. All they did was they said, after dinner chores, and then it was like magic, and then the kids just did everything. So, find out how they did that. Like that was the friends, like, if they've been to our house, they should just come and ask us. I feel like that would have been an easier step than like, you just go and sort that out to figure out what does after dinner, like what did they do to make that happen? So like, it can seem very, very easy to say after dinner chores, and then the children can the 4-year-old has a job, the 6-year-old, like they all know what their job is, and then they go and do it. What that has meant is that over the years, we have taught, you need to be doing this, you need to do this. If I say after dinner chores, they know what their set job is, and then they can come in and do it. So it can look effortless, but it is not. It is actually me putting forth a lot of effort. So a lot of times I think there have been misconceptions, or you can look at someone else's family and think their children are like always behaving, their children are always quiet whenever they're sitting there, and it's because they've taken the steps over and over and over again. It's not that they have been blessed with the perfect children, because they aren't actually around, but they have been taught over the years how to know what they should be doing and when they should be doing it. I'd like to hear what chores you remember from your childhood and how that's impacted you maybe as a mother or when you were a child. If people have any stories about chores they have done. Yes.
Every Saturday, cleaning certain rooms of the house.
Okay. Did you do the same one every time, or did you switch things
I
around?
started with one, and then as I got older, it was added to other rooms and then other rooms.
And have you kept that habit for yourself as an adult?
No.
No. Do you wish you had kept it as a habit for yourself, or?
Yes. But similar to you, I am not somebody that, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fine, or oh yeah, that sounds fine.
Yes.
I don't like to plan, I wish I liked
Yes.
to plan more, because I can see the benefit in it now.
Chores you did as a kid? Thoughts that you have on that?
I grew up on a farm,
Yes.
on a dairy farm, so I had lots of different chores. And kind of like modeling what you were asking her. With my kids, we just got quails.
Okay.
And we were looking for rabbits. We got a lizard yesterday. So, I guess in my adult life, I cared very deeply with empathizing with animals and having responsibilities
Yes.
for things that are bigger than me that don't really affect me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Along the same lines as her, like we were pretty responsible for feeding beef cattle, like taking care of beef cattle while Dad was doing all the other jobs. And I found that so valuable that I have now sought out a job at a dairy farm, and I started very young at a dairy farm to a neighboring dairy farm. I've sought that out as a job for my child, my oldest, because it is just invaluable. It's invaluable
Yes.
to learn how to take care of animals that are fully relying on you, how to treat them, treat them kindly and how to treat them if they're sick. Like, it is truly invaluable. And it's good, hard work ethic that matters a lot.
Yeah, and even like knowing where your food's coming from and the
Yes.
importance of
Yep.
food, you know, from field to table and.
And that's a little bit like, particularly with Mila, she's got someone else that's responsible for her, but even if it's at your own house, those animals rely on you. If you don't give the ducks water, they will quack super, super loud. That's what we are learning. So like when the ducks were really loud this morning, I'm like, Thaddeus, you gotta go fill up the bucket. Like they are going to wake up the neighbors and they're gonna be like, what is happening at the Cobb's house? I read ducks were really quiet, and that has not yet been like fully the way that it's been happening. So we'll see what happens as this morning it was like the loudest duck quacks you can imagine at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Kelsey, are your ducks super loud? No, you don't have any ducks anymore. They're gone. Were they loud when they were around?
I don't, it was a short-lived season.
Okay. So when I was a child, I did very, very little in helping with our house. My mom would have me do dishes, but I would hate to have that floaty stuff in the water touch my hands. So I like would make it go as fast as I could. And then I just like put it over and pretend like it was clean, and then my mom would rewash it. So like now looking back on that, I'm like, that was really absolutely opposite of what I should have been learning, that you do it halfway and mom will fix it for you. So I want to make sure my kids are paying attention to doing it fully, and if they're not doing it fully, you get to go back and fix it. It's not that I get to go back and fix it because you haven't done it. But what I've done with that is I started, whenever I got my own house, I started just running the water so that I'm washing under the running water rather than filling up the sink. So now when my kids see people who have a sink that they're filling up, they're like, what are they doing? Like, why are they putting that, like, what is that thing for the bottom of the drain? That is how most people wash dishes. That's not how I do, and not how you don't. So we will see when they grow if they still, like, my little quirk makes them think that this is the way you wash dishes, is you have to have the water running. So my mom also, so she didn't have us do very much, but then whenever I had kids, I set them on the counter at a very young age, which still, after 10 children, my dad still is very worried they're gonna throw themselves off the counter or like try to start stabbing with a knife or something. And they totally have grabbed knives before, but I've always gotten them away before they don't normally cut themselves until they're actually using them themselves. And butter knives, that's been what's been most dangerous for us, just as an aside. Yes.
This is a question.
Yes.
We have like lists of chores to do with the kids.
Yes.
And it just seems like we constantly have to remind them, yep, you're doing this today.
Yes.
For lunch, and then, you know, do you have any tips or wisdom on?
Yes, I personally don't want to have to be in charge of that, of like, you are doing this time and this time you're doing this other job, so I give them, you are dishes for like a year and a half. We don't switch our jobs, hardly ever. So the child that is currently doing laundry has been doing laundry for over a year, and at some point we will switch it to someone else, but right now she is still working on learning laundry. So I feel like over the course of their whole life, they learn all the jobs, but they are not always doing all the jobs. So so then I can know, I also divide up rooms. So like if the living room has pillows all over the floor and I'm like, I don't even know who was doing that. I don't know who was playing in the living room last. I don't know who put those there. The living room is Everly's responsibility. So I can just say, Everly, I need you to go pick up the living room. If I know that it was a certain kid that was doing it, then I can tell them. But if I don't, that's Everly's room. So she can be the one that goes in and fixes it. So that also has drawbacks because I have, not too long ago, I have seen some things move from the living room into the dining room, so then it became the dining room's responsibility. So then that is a new skill that you get to work on. No, we don't move it, that does not help. So putting it where it actually belongs. Yes, so children are very creative and can come up with all sorts of ways to work through that. But yes, that's what I've decided helps me the most, because then I can say, I know that if we're sitting down to dinner and there is no silverware, that was Lumina's fault. Lumina did not do her before dinner job because that's her job. So she has to know to go and do that, and I know. And if I change the jobs, I have to write them on an index card to give to Jason so that he can try and memorize them, because otherwise then he's not assigning them day by day, so then he wants to make sure he knows who to call when there's stuff on the floor in the dining room.
Do you think that helped with like the consistency of your kids doing their chores because they knew like, yep, this is what I'm gonna do?
And I don't have to like redo the list because it changed, because there are a lot of factors too, especially when the kids are getting older, that like if Willow's gone to work, I know the dishes aren't gonna get done unless I'm doing them or I have somebody else needing to help until she gets home from work. So
Right.
to know, yes, this can't happen right now because this child's not here, or knowing that it will happen because, yes, the dining room is messy, but that's an afternoon job, not a morning job, so it's okay, we will be able to handle it if I can. If I can't, we will then clean it then. But that's like kind of knowing what I need and what we need to make our house run well. One of Jason's favorite verses is from Proverbs 14:4, where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. So we have like a lot of ox, and they make a lot of mess, and so our manger is not clean, but they all can work together really well to get things clean. So I know it can look like if you come in at the wrong time, be like, wow, there's a lot of stuff out all over here. And then if you come back in just a little bit, it can mostly be put away because we can do it all together really quick because we can divide and get things ready. And if the kids are too young to have their own specific room to be in charge of, then they get to help someone else, or I come up with creative jobs. Like Lumina is now in charge of the bookcases because she's not capable of an entire room, but she is totally capable of making sure that the spines are spacing out on the bookshelves so that I can feel happy. There are kind of a lot of bookshelves, so she has like a very large amount, so I tend to divide that out of like, we're gonna do the hallway bookshelves right now, you can do the ones in the dining room on this side tomorrow, so. The mother who takes pains to endow her children with good habits secures for herself smooth and easy days, is a quote from Charlotte Mason. So it's not like, there are a lot of times I've heard, I'm just gonna do this myself because it's a lot easier. I'm going to do this myself because I can do it right. And those are valid statements, and my kids can do it right too. And my kids can do it not as good as me to start with, but we can work on it and keep going. So if we're at a level of, my bookshelves are organized by my 6-year-old, I used to work in a library, I know how to get them right up to the edge, I know how to get in alphabetical order. We definitely don't do that because that would never last for more than a couple days, I would think. We can get them to know how to do it enough that makes us feel happy and makes the child feel proud of that bookshelf was a mess, now it is clean. We have gotten that straightened out, but we can come up with different habits and different things for the children to do and start small for things. Don't just try and say, okay, I don't have any system set in place to clean my house, so now here's what we're gonna do. We're going to do, and list off every single thing that we're going to start all at once. The best thing is to think of one thing that's causing you problems or causing your husband problems. Like if you come in and I have this one counter that I want clean, Jason would really like the entryway to be clean. I don't care about the entryway. That does not matter to me if that is clean as you're coming through. It matters to him. So knowing that's how he's coming in through the house, so if he texts he's on his way home, let's clean the entryway and make sure that it makes for a smooth and easy way. So those are the things I would recommend starting with. If you don't have a place to start, is think, what bothers me the most? What bothers my husband the most? Let's make sure that we work on those things first, of the things that are being the most bother. The first habit that Charlotte Mason suggests is attention. So that is a response from the child to make sure that they are knowing what you are saying. So this helps with your schoolwork, because if they are able to pay attention to you, they will not start drifting off into doing something else while you're in the middle of something, because they are trained to listen. That can also backfire as you can learn things are wonderful, and sometimes they have a downside, because if I'm still reading aloud to someone and there's a different child in another room, she's like, you have taught me to listen when you're reading, so I can't focus on what I'm reading. That is very sweet and very true. You can listen as long as you would like, or you can need to go outside if you can't handle hearing the fun year 1 books that I'm reading rather than your year 8 books. When you train them to listen to your voice, then they will be able to listen to your voice and know, I have called to you, you need to come, that my voice is what you are to listen to. That helps in so many ways. When they're doing something wrong, they're about to go into danger, if they know that they will listen to you, you know that they will listen to you, then that helps you to be able to. So I will have them say yes, mommy, when I have told them to do something, to know that they have heard me and know that they are about to do it. I have a friend who had children who would say yes, mommy, and she realized they were just she would say something and that was just the end response of thank you, you're welcome. She talks, yes, mommy, and they did not listen to what she was saying. So then she started requiring them to repeat what she had said, which is super smart, to say, okay, now we will, yes, mommy, what was it that I told you to go do? You told me to go and get a diaper and bring it back down to you, and then they can go and do the thing that you were saying. So you can help help them to have small steps to learn how to be able to pay attention to what you're saying. But that is a great base habit to start with. Part of working through our home is helping the children to be able to be trained to seek beauty and to seek order. So if they know this maybe isn't their room to do, but they see that there are books across, let's not step on the books, let's pick them up. Let's know that order is better than leaving that to be someone else's responsibility, or leaving it to be something that will cause their mother to tell them, we do not step on books now, you need to go back and do it so that they can try and see it. So does that happen all the time? Of course not, but it is a step to be working toward and making sure that we are seeing our houses where we all live and what we are all doing together. For me, I like to have things where they belong whenever I'm starting my day. So if I'm starting and doing schoolwork, I want things to be cleaned before that is happening, but I realized that was making it push back and back and back because it was taking longer to clean up the dishes. Then there were things that were getting out over here, so then we'd start working over here. So what currently works for me, so there are seasons of your life that things may or may not work at all times. I have the kids cleaning while I'm reading, so I will start out doing my schoolwork and making sure that someone is in charge of the counter. Willow is doing the dishes, Felicity is sweeping in the sitting room. Like, we are getting our different things done, and we are still doing the schoolwork. And from what I've seen, because I think part of it is from assigning the same chores all the time, they can do it without needing to think about it. Like, they don't have to think, what do I do next? What's the next step in washing dishes? She knows her order, she knows how she's going to do it, and so she can just do it and be focused on what I'm saying, because she still gives wonderful narrations while she's doing the dishes. So have a lot of children and let them get old enough to help you do the schoolwork, because then we have to help you do the housework is really, really helpful. Because when you're doing it yourself, back in the day, whenever there were only a few kids, I had to do all of those things that now I have people that help me. There were a lot less of them to make the mess, so there was a lot less to do to start with. But that is doable, and then your schoolwork time is normally shorter so that you can be focusing more on housework. But I like getting to have the girls help do stuff as we're starting with Thaddeus is getting ready. So I started with a couple boys, they were doing a lot of the majority of cleaning, and now I'm into mostly girls that are cleaning, and then we're switching back into boys, starting with what they're doing. And I don't change jobs. Like, Silas was dishes for many years because I tried to switch him to drying dishes, and he decided that meant he wouldn't be able to be done as quickly because the drying dishes person was working after the washing dishes person. So he wanted to stick with the washing dishes job, and I did not, whenever we didn't have as many jobs, nobody was doing the laundry, but I think that is a very helpful thing to make sure that boys are knowing how to do, because he did not seem to know how to do that very well whenever he moved out. So you can remedy the things that you learn along the way. So the kids will help me clean while I'm starting out with schoolwork. Then we focus mainly on our schoolwork. After nap time, during nap time, the girls will start getting some things tidied back up for us, and the kids all have afternoon jobs that they will do after. But habits are being formed intentionally or unintentionally. So if something that a child is doing causes you more work later, that's something I'd say to start focusing on and working on. So if a child comes in and just drops their coat by the door rather than hanging it on a hook or needing to take it downstairs to where it belongs, you can focus on that for however long it takes to make sure that they remember when you come in, you take your coat and put it where it belongs instead of just dropping it. So you have to keep it up, and then they might forget again, and you have to keep keeping it up. But that's the way that life goes. And there are habits that can slide back in if you don't keep up that good habit that you had started. So always it's watching, seeing what needs to happen, and then making sure you're working on it. Some habits can take you weeks to start with or months to keep going, but once you've got a better start on something. So I at a talk before said we were working on shutting the door, realizing that we are doing a lot better at shutting that door that we were not shutting before. So like, if you can see the habits that you had been working on and realize you're better, you're not great, but you're better than you were before, it can be very encouraging to look back on what you have done. So one of my husband's favorite sayings is to inspect what you expect, because if I don't pay attention to what the kids are doing or don't go and check the chore that they've done, if I've not checked it for a while, then they can start to think, I can just like kind of put the stuff up in the middle of the room, but I don't actually have to like go under the beds or focus on what's in the closet, because she didn't really come in and look at it. So they know how to not do jobs fully. So if you can tell by some of these examples, my kids do not do everything right, so I have to learn the ways to figure out how to then help them to see it matters. It matters to get your room fully cleaned, not just part of it cleaned, and making sure that you have things where they are. So hopefully when they are older can see starting out with a cleaned, organized house is nicer than having things where you can't focus, because I can't focus if I'm trying to do schoolwork and think, I need to be starting that bread, I need to make sure that I get this meat thawed from dinner. If I can just run and go do that really quick and then start on schoolwork, then we can focus a whole lot more. So my current schedule, saying about seasons of time, when my ones that are old grown now, where only the little ones, say I had 3, 4, 5 kids, I would do schoolwork only at nap time. So they were not really writing much at that time, they were just listening to me read. And I would read at nap time so that the younger kids could fall asleep, the older kids could hear what I was doing, and that was the season that worked. That was what worked for that season. That would not work now, because I like to fall asleep too. So if I'm sleeping, I am not actually reading to them. So we will do the things before, and we have a lot more assignments because they're a lot older children. But my current schedule that I like to do, I will wake and shower and journal. I have a 5-year journal that you probably, if you've talked to me for any amount of time, you will hear what I was doing 2 years ago, because I'm super excited about seeing the fun things that I did, because it's very easy to forget. I'm only 3 years into it, but I can now tell you what I was doing last year and the year before. Silas and I went to Voyageurs National Park 2 years ago, and last year, no, I'm not gonna remember. We did something. I read it this morning, but it's very fun to be able to look back. So I do that first thing in the morning. I write what we did the day before so that I can have that record. So people have always told me through the years, write down the things the kids say. I'm like, that's a great idea, but when am I supposed to do that? I don't have if I don't have a set time, I don't do it. So there I try and do what we've done, and if the kids say something cute, that goes at the bottom. So yeah, because Revere just 2 years ago when I was pregnant with Maranatha, he was 2 and I was vomiting, and I just wrote this from another day, and he said, you fine now? So I wrote that in my thing. I'm like, I could hear his little 2-year-old voice, but I forgot that until I looked back on it and see that he had been sweet trying to help with my fun. So I do that, and I also write out Bible verses. I've been writing, I started with Romans, and then I moved to Matthew, and I'm now in the middle of Mark. So I already told Tessa the story, but yesterday I was starting to fret for doing this talk today, and I was not really paying attention to what I was writing, which is the entire goal of writing out the Bible by hand, is for me to be paying attention to it. And I wrote the verse about, don't be worried about what you will say in that hour, because the Holy Spirit will give you words, which was talking about persecution, and I'm not being persecuted, I am just getting to share things that I love. But it was still a nice blessing to use that for my current state of, yes, he will help me, hopefully. I feel like I'm doing okay. After that, we do group readings, so that's when the kids will start cleaning, and I will read out loud to everyone together. So I have a lot of different things that I do during that stretch of time, but that's what I have decided to do for everyone. Then after that comes the kids' individual work time. So I first make everyone do their copy work or handwriting, because I realized I wasn't checking that. And so then sometimes kids were doing it and sometimes they weren't. So if I don't check it, it doesn't happen. So now that happens directly after reading, so that I make sure that they are bringing that to me right away, so that I don't get busy on something else and forget that I was supposed to check that they did their handwriting. I will then start with Lumina, who is my youngest school-age child, and I will work with her. And the next 2 boys can start on their math if they're done with their handwriting, but doing the things that they can do by themselves without needing me. Lumina's is very quick and adorable. I will finish her work, then she gets to go off and play with the other younger kids. Then I move on to Otis, and then I move on to Thaddeus. The other kids are coming in to narrate what they're doing at the same times, but it's trying to figure out how to divide up my time. So in the past, so Silas came in not too long ago. Since he doesn't live with us anymore, he came back and he's like, why are you reading to only one child? So for pretty much the entire time he was in our home, I only read group readings. And now that there's a little bit of a gap, I'm reading to the individual kids that need the smaller readings too. So it was an interesting, yes, things change a lot, and you have to adapt to what your new current season is. And so to figure out what you need to do and try and plan and make time for that. So I do that, and then we do work with the little kids individually. Then we have lunch and naps. The older girls will still probably be working on schoolwork. They will often then be doing some cleaning to get things ready for the afternoon so that we can come down, because I have instituted very recently a tea time that we are to have tea or smoothie or some kind of thing right after naps, and the girls really like making treats, so they will make something while the younger kids are laying down. The very first day I was like super gung-ho and I was ready. We're like, we are gonna do tea time and it's gonna be so fun. I'm going to read to you again. We're going to do like a chapter book, just a fun reading, not a educational type reading. And we're going to be able to have treats. It's gonna be great. The kids all started, they were like, what are we doing? Why? Aren't we supposed to be going outside? I wanna go play now. I'm like, the first day, I cried because it was not working out. It was not going how my beautiful tea time is going to be fantastic. We're going to love this. Now, my friends, our kids have started telling their friends about how fun tea time is, and can we just have them over when it's tea time so that they can see what tea time is? So, keep pushing through. If you get your expectations set too high and you think reading's gonna go smoothly all the way through, it doesn't. If you think tea time's going to happen real smooth, it doesn't. That's just how it goes, and just keep on. I'd like to hear another from you. What chores do your kids do? What do you like them to do? How do you fit it into your day? Any of those kinds of things that you have a thought about? Yes, Steve?
Katie just has a calendar with 3 things, which is the dishes and then laundry and the floors. And they just rotate days by highlighted color. And then I think whoever does the laundry gets to pick the show if we watch a show.
That is very fun. I remember back when we had only littler ones, we had numbers because they wanted to all push the button on the elevator or the crosswalk sign on the thing. And I'm like, I don't know, I can't remember who did it yesterday. So if we are walking across the street and it is child number 2's day, you get to be the one that does that. So laundry kit gets to be the one that does this fun thing. That is very smart. That's very smart.
Those were the top 3 things that like I was finding my kids were still young enough where like they were issues for me and was like into my day so much that
Yes.
I was like, oh, now I have these other people that I need to be starting to train to do these things. So like when Jules does clothes, she's doing it at a different level than when Judah's doing clothes.
Yes.
And vice versa with dishes and all the things, but they do it at their level. So I team up with Jules and we do that short together. And then the boys can do their aspects of it pretty independently.
That is exactly like, yes, if you can come alongside them at the beginning and help them to see, instead of just saying, you may now go clean the bathroom. If you go show them, what that actually means is you start here on the sink, and then when you do the toilet, do not then use that rag to go and clean back onto the mirror. Like, we have an order that we need to go through to make sure, because they can't know if you don't teach them. So if they've learned by watching you and doing it along with you, that makes it a whole lot smoother for everybody. Yes?
With laundry, I have 5 kids and then my husband and I, so it works out nice to 1 person a day.
Okay.
And with the younger ones, I help them with theirs. They have to bring it all up and put it in the wash.
Mhm.
And we have a double stack so they can't get to the dryer. But
Yes.
my older 2 boys have been doing their own laundry themselves. They're in high school, but the younger of the older 2 for about a year and a half now.
Mhm.
And it's not always done perfectly, but it is nice if I say, go do your laundry, or mom, I don't have any clothes. You know how to take care of that.
Yes.
So
That is your responsibility.
you can
That's-
put them in. Maybe if I'm up, maybe I'll switch it if I'm still awake.
Yes.
I will still do that because you should be sleeping, but that is something that I like that a lot. So that's been very helpful.
So I have a sort of situation. I have 3 children. One is gone, one is 20 and lives with us. I have a 17-year-old, and then we now have a pre-K.
Okay.
So I am now raising my grandchildren.
Okay.
In essence, what's happening. So when my kids were little, they went to public school, and we did not homeschool
Yes.
until high school. And then that's
That's a
where I
big step.
started.
That's
Was
exciting.
high school.
Yes.
Middle school and high school. That's where I started, and now I'm starting with the little one.
Yes.
But chores, what we do the laundry, everybody has a day, and if you miss your day, then you better have more than 7 pairs of underwear. Because you're not, you lose your day, you lose your day. Like, you don't get to wash laundry on Wednesday if your laundry day was Monday, because that's how it is. And then whoever does laundry that day, they also, before they go to bed, pull all towels and wash them, and then I put them in the dryer, and everyone gets their towels from the dryer. That's just what works,
Yes.
and that makes life happy. I taught my kids, and I'm working on it. I did index cards for the jobs, so every room has an index card. So like the bathroom, you start with the mirror, you go and
Yes.
we would do that, and we don't change jobs, every year is when we change it.
Okay.
So you do it for a year, you master your job, and then you learn a new job.
Yes,
But the index cards stay in the room,
okay,
so by the light switch, so then you can, the kids know what their jobs are and how to do it, and that's how we taught. And it's been working. The little one is now learning jobs like, helping set the table, and the silverware and that kind of stuff. But eventually she'll learn those things too.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what worked for us through all of the crazy.
I think it's great to hear other strategies other people use and be able to hear, like, you can do it this way, you can do it that way. I know Hope that was just up here before, she has said that I don't know if it was like straws or popsicle sticks, she had something that had jobs on it for when her kids got older, because there are so many that are, somebody was at basketball and somebody was at work and somebody else was here, but we still need these jobs done. So then what do we do? So she adapted her work to, you have to pick a popsicle stick after you're done with dinner, and then that's your chore for the night. So, like, clever to think of ways that you might need to change things because you don't know what your circumstances will be coming up in the future. That there are other ways, and sometimes I get kind of stuck in but this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is what I like, schoolwork at nap time. That took me a little while to get out of that habit because that was what I loved. So then trying to figure out, okay, I can still do some readings then, but my main time needs to be in the morning now. So like trying to figure out and planning that out, because otherwise, if it's not working, it's not working. So you need to try and figure out, what do I need to do to make this better? So if I can plan it and then know how to execute it, it helps a whole lot more than just thinking, this isn't working, something's not working, I don't know what it is, I don't know what is that one thing that's causing my whole system to not be working how I hope it's gonna work. Then you have to think, and that's another thing Jason's been very helpful with. He can come up with that thing that is the thing that I've not seen that I need to be able to fix. I years ago I would make eggs every morning for breakfast. The kids now joke about that, like, remember when we had eggs every single day? I'm like, yes, because that is like the best breakfast in my mind. That is what you should be eating. You need to have eggs so that you're able to start your schoolwork. But then I was waiting for kids to get down, and then I was making eggs, and then it was taking longer, and then I wanted to clean that up, and then we were starting. So he's like, hey, how about we do something easier for breakfast, and then you can feed them all the protein you want later in the day. But let's start out with something that they can handle faster so that you can get started. So now, if they're old enough, they can start to make their own eggs if that's what they choose to have for breakfast. But otherwise, I am not making an active breakfast every morning because that was making it take too long. So trying to see, that was hard for me to give up. So a lot of these things you might hear, like my planning and my calendar and what times I want to do stuff, it's hard for me to say this is better. But having inside, but having his eyes to be able to show me. So Skylar said that was a question a lot of people were asking, was how can husbands help? And I feel like that's been my biggest help, is for him to be able to see, these are the things that I see you struggling with, even if I feel like breakfast is going fine, I am doing good at this, I like us being able to have eggs, when he can see that that's not actually going fine. And then be able to tell me, maybe you should try something different, because it's always been better. It's always been better to just try what he has said. So, we also use chores as a consequence sometimes, so they all have their individual jobs. I've got them all written down, but like you can probably figure out different jobs that work for your house and for how your kids and what levels they can do. And like Katie's kids are really little. That sounds amazing that they're doing dishes and laundry at that little, because I wasn't having mine do those things, but now you can see little kids are way more capable than you think they are, and they feel really, really happy to get to do the jobs too. So I love that is something that they feel a part of the family, to be, I have a job, I am important to this family, and I will do what I need to. But we will, if there is something that is not done well, they get a new job. They will have something else to do on top of it. Or if you are being unkind, or you are doing something that I wish you hadn't, then you can get a new job, and that can help you have a little more time to think of maybe something that isn't one of our normal tasks. You can add in something else. And I have a friend that has cleaning her van as the consequence if the children aren't behaving. So like she has gone to, I'm like, do you have something? And she's like, oh, well, Ian wasn't doing that great, so I had the van super clean, but we don't have the things that we need because the van has been cleaned. So I don't have cleaning our bus as a job, but it needed cleaned, and I forgot to text that to Jason to have somebody clean it. So I guess if I go home and someone hasn't behaved, they'll be the child that gets to go out and clean the bus whenever we get home. I personally do not do an allowance or any kind of chore money, which is totally, of course, you can do whatever you feel like. I do offer for an extra job, so if they are wanting to buy something or asking for something, then they can come to me, say, do you have an extra job for money? They will often go to Jason because he pays more than I do, so that he would be the one that they ask, well, do you have a job? But that is our method. You can get a job, you can get money, but I'm not going to for our normal day-to-day things. I want, the worry I talked about earlier, that if you are worried about something or you are thinking things aren't going well, things aren't how I was hoping that they were going to be, if you can try and make a plan, also try not to compare yourself, because that can get really, really hard to not get yourself bogged down into someone else who seems to be doing everything better than you're doing it, because I definitely feel that with a lot of things and think they're doing that so much better than me. They are obviously much more skilled in this. Their kids are much better than mine at X, Y, or Z. And that is, that may be true, but that's also something that they might look at you and say, wow, how are they able to do that also, in addition to what they're already doing? Like, we all have our skills, and to try to not compare yourself to someone else and be you, and try and make sure that God gave you your kids. Run your homeschool how it feels well to you, what you like doing. And like, if you might have kids that would prefer you were running every single day, if that's not what you can handle, then don't run every single day. But if it is what you can handle, then by all means, go ahead and do the thing that works best for in your family. And I have a section here that's pretty similar to what Hope said, of academics are a distant second to relationships. Your relationships between you and your kids, and between your kids together, matters a whole lot more than what they're doing if they've done their math well that day. Making sure that they are loving to one another and they are loving toward you. I highly prefer that, and I love to see, like she was saying too, it's such a wonderful example to be able to see families that are grown and still want to be part of each other's lives and love to do things together. My oldest son drove later than we did to get to Mount Olympus yesterday, but he immediately came and found us. He came with a friend who then went off with someone else, and he came with us and wanted to ride rides with Willow and make sure that he's with his siblings. And I love it. I love it. I love to see them all together. If you are struggling with anything, because there is always something that we're struggling with each kid individually, something that we're struggling with as a whole, if you can go and pray about it rather than worry about it, it makes it a whole lot better. And I am preaching to myself, because I need to always remember that whenever I am starting to, I don't know if this is ever going to get better. I don't know if this is not the path I was seeing that was supposed to be happening. I thought that the path would be here, and the path seems to be doing this as it's coming up. Then if I can pray, that helps me to not worry, and helps me be able to see God loves them, and God has this under control. The Holy Spirit is the one that is helping to educate our children, and we are not responsible, even though it feels like, a lot of times it feels like the weight of everything is on us. So if your child is grown up, say, and maybe his car is not very clean, and then you start to think, what did I do to not make that child's car clean? That is still the feeling I am having as only having 2 grown children so far, is it still feels like it's coming back to me, even though I know it's not really on to me. So praying and saying, you are now, the coaching that Hope talked about, that is very valuable to think. I cannot then say, clean your car, clean your car, clean your car. I have to say, we know, if you want to say, why can't I find anything in my car? I can then make the suggestion, it's because there's too much in your car right now. But praying for each child by name is very important, which is not always something that that is a new goal I'm going to make for myself, to make sure that every day by name for each child and what they are specifically doing. And it's our job to just be faithful with whatever he puts on your heart to say that you need to do with your family. He will offer you wisdom, and it will be something that might come from your husband saying, you need to switch this up, and then you can say, yes, I will follow and do what I need to help things run smoothly and feel peace with what you are doing in your home. So I am ready to hear if anybody has any questions or anything that they would like to say. Yes.
On your calendar, your schedule, have you
Yes.
always done what you're doing now, or have you made changes over the 15 years?
Yes, I definitely have changed quite a bit of timings and things, and I will definitely tailor to each specific child what they need to do. that Silas had a whole lot more assigned because he cares about money and he also cares about politics and he cares about a lot of things that Calvin cares about, building houses, and Calvin cares about tools. So I would assign books about building houses and books that would help him to be what he needs to do and books that Silas needs to do. So I've basically been Charlotte Mason-y the whole time, but done it slightly different and trying to adjust what works, knowing that I want to make sure we're doing as much together as we can and then cater to your individual needs also. Yes, Teresa.
As part of your chores or just general help, do you have, cause like, I have a child who will make desserts all day long, but then
Yes.
it's like mealtime, how about you help me, and then they like run away. So do you have like mealtime helpers? Do you like do anything with that? Like, oh, you help with lunches, you help with dinners, do you just do it when you need it? Anything like that?
A lot is they will offer because they like to help do different things. I have two that like to grill, so I will then, that is not like part of their actual list of things, but if it's not something that Jason's home for, then Everlease or Thaddeus will grill for me. And Everlease has been doing really great at chicken lately, so like she's going to become our new chicken cooker because she's very good at it. So it turns out really well and juicy when she does it. So yeah, like because she also loves to do the baking, Everlease and Felicity both. So that was kind of part of my instigation for tea time of you can then do that for this, but then we will also still need dinner after. So yeah. And that's one of my favorites is I like baking it, so then it's more whoever's nearby or not doing something else, then we just pull in and they can help me run and grab those vegetables so I can get them started.
What time do you start in the morning, if you don't mind me asking, for like lessons and stuff with your kiddos?
I want everybody down by 7:15 so that we can start early. I like to be able to lay down. I have cranky babies that like to go to bed a little earlier, so we normally are ready for naps by 11:30ish. So I try to do it earlier. So it just kind of, that's another feel what your season needs of what time it works best, because yeah, I used to not get up quite so early and I'm trying to do better at getting up earlier. And yep, that's the current time. And before I didn't do it till nap time, so then it was we could get up whenever, and then we did just playing and fun things in the morning and then starting it later, so. Anything else? Yes?
How often are you able to like just get away and just like meet up with another friend and do things like that? Because I think that's a healthy thing for all these moms
Yep.
to do, and without compromising what you're planning on doing at home and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, yep. Yeah, it's been different things over different times of the year, and a lot of what I want to do is have people come to us so that we can all do things together as a family. And so we have a lot of people over for dinner, and that will end up being our socializing time. We also host a small group, so we will kind of lock ourselves in the room, Skylar. Is that like generally we shut the door to keep kids around over here, and then the adults are in here with several babies that we end up in another room. So we have that, and Jason really likes trips just with me. So we've done just me also means me and the baby. We've done that for the past 12-ish years that I can tell each kid. Everlease went to Seattle. I know that Otis, we went to New York, knowing where we went with the baby, so that it was a trip alone with plus baby is generally the wonderful way we get to do it.
And so I know your family's involved with the church and stuff, but did you ever do anything with co-ops? Do you think that's something that like young families, like for my case, I have a kindergartner and then soon preschool.
Yes.
Is that something I should like put all my attention in, or like, is that kind of like just that socialization myth? Like it doesn't really, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure, yeah, I've done a lot of things over different years, and I realized back whenever I had more little people, I was doing a lot more play dates. I would plan a lot more schedule of things because I wanted the community for me and for the kids to have things to do. And so I would go to like events that people would put on and be able to find who my people were so that we could then do do things more that I wanted to do because we really like hiking. So a wonderful way is the kids go, they are hiking within sight is generally our intention. That doesn't always happen, and we have to then remind them they need to stay within sight. And then I can be talking to a friend at the same time, and we can hike together. Or yes, definitely we are part of a co-op and enjoy it very much. And it's the kids love it, I love it. So it's something that I have been in a co-op in the past, and I did not love it, and I dreaded that it was time for co-op because that one was not a fit for me, and it was not something. So each circumstance is different as to what works best for you, and I love that the kids have people that they can talk to also, and we can do things together, but it kind of just matters what it is and how it fits with what you are desiring to do. So, yeah, another thing, there's seasons of different things, so. And if there's not something that you found that you want to do, then you can make it. Katie made her own hiking group that she wanted to do because you can say you wanted to have people around you in your area and be able to go hiking. So you can just make that. If that's something you don't see people hiking in West Salem, make it. Or go ask Katie if you happen to live in West Salem. She can go hiking